Thank you for joining. Today we'll be starting the new section on Lord Varahadev. And today, actually, a lot of things that you watched in the movie, you're going to read those things today and in the subsequent sections as well. So, and just to appreciate the movie a little bit, you'll find that very little details have been incorporated in the movie, which is really beautiful, which you will know in the course of our reading the chapter today. So, without further ado, let me share my screen and we will get cracking with this. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
So we have 48 verses. So let's do like, oh, sorry, we have 50 verses. So we can do 14 threes are 48, 40, 14, 14, and 16. So who wants to go? Okay, I'll start. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O king, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from the sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he adored to hear. Vidura said, O great sage, what did Swayambhuva, the dear son of Brahma, do after obtaining his very loving wife? O best of the virtuous, the original king of kings, that is Manu, was a great devotee of the personality of Godhead Hari, and thus it is worth hearing of his sublime character and activities. Please describe them. I am very eager to hear. Persons who hear from a spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouths of pure devotees about the character and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their hearts of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead who awards his devotees liberation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words, and, being influenced by his spirit, he attempted to speak. The sage Maitreya said to Vidura, after his appearance, Manu, the father of mankind, along with his wife, thus addressed the reservoir of Vedic wisdom, Brahma, with obeisances and folded hands. You are the father of all living entities and the source of their subsistence because they are all born of you. Please order us how we may be able to render service unto you. O worshipful one, please give us your direction for the execution of duty within our working capacity so that we can follow it for fame in this life and progress in the next. Lord Brahma said, my dear son, O Lord of the world, I am very pleased with you, and I desire all blessings for both you and your wife. You have without reservation surrendered yourself unto me with your heart for my instructions. O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. This sort of adoration for the superior is required. One who is beyond the limit of envy and who is sane accepts the order of his father with great delight and executes it to his full capacity. Since you are my very obedient son, I ask you to beget children qualified like yourself in the womb of your wife. Rule the world in pursuance of the principles of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus worship the Lord by the performances of yajna. O King, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be a good protector of conditioned souls, certainly the Master of the senses will be very pleased with you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan, Lord Krishna, is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice. If he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile. He is the ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interests. Sri Manu said, O all powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place and that of the living entities born of me. Kameshwar Prabhu, you can go up till verse 28. No, 14, 3 is a 4. Oh,
Was it
16 threes are
16?
48.
16 threes.
My basics wrong here. Basic math is wrong. Anyway, I'll read two more verses. O Master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth, which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place for all the living entities. It can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. Sri Maitreya said, thus, seeing the earth merged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to how it could be lifted. So now, Kameshwar Prabhu, you can go up to 32 if you're
Okay, Prabhu.
still up for it. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depths of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in this matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a bird came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. O descendant of Bharata, while Brahma was observing him, that bird became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation as gigantic as a great elephant. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with great Brahmanas like Marichi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. Is this same extraordinary entity come in the presence of a boar? Is it very wonderful that he has come from my nose? First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the supreme personality of Godhead Vishnu? While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the supreme personality of Godhead Vishnu roared tumultuously like a great mountain. The omnipotent supreme personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, which was the all auspicious sound of the all merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas. Playing like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hot hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusk. He was personally the supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet, because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee Brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water. Diving into the water like a giant mountain, Lord Gore divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord. O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like short arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Lord Bohr very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then, his anger glowing like the Sudarshan wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. Thereupon, Lord Boar killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from the digging in the purple earth. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamala tree, and thus the sages, headed by Brahma, could understand him to be the supreme personality of Godhead and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord. All
Thank
the
you.
sages, okay,
Thank you,
next.
bro. Manjari Gopi Mataji, you can continue and end the chapter.
Okay, Prabhuji. All the sages uttered with great respect. O conquerable enjoyer of all sacrifices, all glories and all victories unto you. You are moving in your form of personified Vedas, and in the hair holes of your body, the oceans are submerged. For certain reasons, to uplift the earth, you have now assumed the form of a boar. O Lord, your form is worshipable by performances of sacrifice, but souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see it. All the Vedic hymns, Gayatri, and others are in touch of your skin. In your bodily hairs is the kusha grass. In your eyes is the clarified butter. And in your four legs are the four kinds of fruitive activities. O Lord, your tongue is a plate of sacrifice. Your nostril is another plate of sacrifice. In your belly is the eating plate of sacrifice. And another plate of sacrifice is the whole of your ears. In your mouth is the Brahma plate of sacrifice. Your throat is the plate of sacrifice known as Som, and whatever you chew is known as Agnihotra. Moreover, O Lord, the reputation of your appearance is the desire for all kinds of initiation. Your neck is the place for three desires, and your tusks are the result of initiation and the end of all desires. Your tongue is the prior activities of initiation. Your head is the fire without sacrifice, as well as fire of worship, and your living forces are the aggregate of all desires. O Lord, your semen is the sacrifice called Somyag. Your growth is the ritualistic performances of the morning. Your skin and touch sensations are the seven elements of the Agni Storm sacrifice. Your bodily joints are symbols of various other sacrifices performed in 12 days. Therefore, you are the object of all sacrifices called Soma and Asoma, and you are bound by yagyas only. O Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are worshipable by universal prayers, Vedic hymns, and sacrificial ingredients. We offer our obeisances unto you. You can be realized by the pure mind, freed from all visible and invisible material contamination. We offer our respectful obeisances to you as the supreme spiritual master of knowledge in devotional service. O lifter of the earth with its mountains, which you have lifted with your tusks, is situated as beautifully as a lotus flower with leaves sustained by an infuriated elephant just coming out of the water. O Lord, just, O Lord, as the peaks of great mountains become beautiful when decorated with clouds, your transcendental body has become beautiful because of your lifting the earth on the edge of your tusks. O Lord, for the residential purposes of all inhabitants, both moving and non moving, this earth is your wife, and you are the Supreme Father. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you, along with Mother Earth, in whom you have invested your own potency, just as an expert sacrificer puts fire in the Arani wood. Who else but you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could deliver the earth from within the water? It is not very wonderful for you, however, because you acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe. By your energy, you have created this wonderful cosmic manifestation. O Supreme Lord, undoubtedly, we are inhabitants of the most pious planets, the Jana, Tapas, and Satyalok. But still, we have been purified by the drops of water sprinkled from your shoulder hairs by the shaking of your body. O Lord, there is no limit to your wonderful activities. Anyone who desires to know the limit of your activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. The sage Maitreya said, the Lord, being thus worshipped by all the great sages and transcendentalists, touched the earth with his hooves and placed it on the water. In this manner, the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the maintainer of all living entities, raised the earth from within the water, and having placed it afloat on the water, he returned to his own abode. If one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Bore, which is worthy of description, the Lord who is within the heart of everyone is very pleased. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by the Lord Himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. Who other than one who is not a human being can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? Who can refuse the nectar of narrations about the personality of Godhead's activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs? Haribol.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, dear readers. We'll do prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमां विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं, यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, seeking blessings from all of you so that we can discuss something in line with the Guru Parampara, which is uplifting to all of us and which is relevant to all of us. Which screen are you seeing? Are you seeing the screen in which the entire thing is filled with the slide, or are you seeing my notes on the right?
The entire thing is filled with your slide, bro.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So, I was, so this is Varahadev's appearance. So, we should probably recite this verse. वसति दशन शिखरे केशवाधरणी तव लग्ना, वसति दशन शिखरे केशवाधरणी तव लग्ना, शशिनिकळङ्क कलेवनिमग्ना, शशिनिकळङ्क कलेवनिमग्ना, केशवाधृत सुकररूप, केशवाधृत सुकररूप, जय जगदीश हरे केशवा, जय जगदीश हरे। All glories to Lord Keshava, Krishna, who appeared as the boar. The earth was held between his tusks, which appeared like the scars on the moon. So today, Lord Varahadev has appeared in our Sangha, in our Tuesday Sangha. So this is a very nice verse written by Jayadev Goswami in his Dashavatar Stotra. And he has the verse that we sing in Narsimharti, Tavakara Kamalavare, Nakham Adbhuta Shringam, Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. That also is from this. And he describes all the avatars, right? I was once talking to a colleague in where I used to work in India, and she was a Marwadi, and she used to worship Krishna uh, since her childhood. That's a thing in the Marwadis. Krishna is like their Ishta Devata, their family god. And we were discussing this Dashavatar Stotra. And I asked her, so many, the 10 avatars Jaidev Goswami has described. Can you tell me where is Krishna in all these 10? And she started thinking, she started going through the 10 avatars and everything. So, anyway, question for all of you, where is Krishna in these 10 avatars? Because if you read the Dashavatar Stotra, there is no verse which is dedicated to Krishna. So, any ideas where Krishna is? Anyone? A little bit of a trick question.
Is Hare Krishna, bro?
Yes.
Every avatar.
Sorry.
Sorry, who was
Go
that?
ahead, Prabhu. Go ahead. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay, is Keshava the Krishna, bro?
Yes, yes. So he's there in every verse, actually, because it's every verse is Keshava Drita, Narahari Rupa. So I guess, I think of it as, Jayadev Goswami is subtly also hinting that Krishna is the source of all avatars, Krishna's tu Bhagwan Swayam. But in any case, so we can relish Varahadev's appearance, and I'm pretty sure many of you must have sensed the similarity between the movie and uh, these verses. Like, in movie also they have shown Lekha Mataji, I'm asking you if you don't mind. Uh, so in the movie also they show how Lord Varahadev is smelling and trying to find Bhumi Devi, his consort, and yeah. So I think the way this goes is the fight is not completely described here. I think it gets described in the subsequent chapters of this section. So again, this is a very beautiful section. Lord Varahadev has appeared, and I was just thinking that how um, what happens. So pastimes are good, of course, pastimes are good, but what happens between the pastimes, right? What is the dialogue that goes on between the different pastimes is also very interesting. And in this case, the dialogue that is happening before the beginning of this Varahadev pastime, before Maitreya is narrating to Vidura the pastime of Lord Varahadev. Vidura is actually he's expressing his eagerness to hear about the Lord, and not only about the Lord, but he specifically expressing his eagerness to hear about the devotees of the Lord. And Manu actually he's not like we hear about so many devotees in the Bhagavatam, but typically, commonly in different sanghas, Manu's glories are not discussed that commonly. I might be wrong here, but Manu's glories are not discussed. And but Manu is a very great Vaishnava, and which so one of the sections that we covered in the past in our Tuesday classes discuss the glories of Manu. Can anyone say which section that was? A section that we recently covered, discussed the glories of Manu, and showed how great a devotee he was. He is rather, he's still there. So Swayambhuva Manu. So that is the section of Kardam Muni and Devahuti's wedding. That marriage and Kapil Dev being born and Kapil Dev's instructions. So in that actually Swayambhu Manu's glories are described. And I was hearing a talk by Maharaj on I think the one of the initial verses, and he almost takes up the entire class describing the glories of Manu. It's very interesting and very nourishing to hear. He describes Manu. So he was a great king, of course. He's a great king, but at the same time, he's a great devotee. When like Maharaj was describing, and this is described in that section where while goes to sleep, he has these narrators singing the pastimes of the Lord. So he sleeps hearing those pastimes, and waking up also he hears pastimes of the Lord. He actually wakes up by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, and all his activities are dovetailed in and very elaborate deity worship Manu does in his home. So very inspiring personality, and he's one of the Mahajanas also. He's one of the Mahajanas, and he is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Can anyone say where he's mentioned in the Gita? Very famous verse. Manu is mentioned at one place in the Bhagavad Gita. I'll give more clue. Fourth chapter. Yes, anyone? Anyone? Okay. So it's yes, somebody, Nitya Mataji.
Anushayanam Sahasreshu Kashyadit. No, that's 7.
Imam Vivashvate Yogam Yodo
Yes, yes.
Proptavanamabhayam Vivash Manu Rikshvakave Bravit.
Correct. Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravi.
Like the parampara system from the sun god to Manu to
Yes,
Vivashwan.
yes.
Vivashwan is the sun god, I guess.
Vivasvan is the sun god, yes. So Lord instructed Vivasvan. Vivasvan instructed Manu, and Manu instructed Ikshvaku, King Ikshvaku. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, that is so Manu is described there as well. I mean, he's mentioned there. So he's a great devotee of the Lord, and he had great sons like Uttanpad. So this genealogy is described in the previous chapter of this section. But we of course we'll not go into it. But Manu had 5 children, 2 sons and 3 daughters. 2 sons were Uttanpad and Priyavrat, and 3 daughters were Devahuti, Prasuti, and Akuti. And we know how famous story of Devahuti getting married to Kardam Muni, and then Dhruva, the great devotee about whom we hear so much and we derive inspiration from. He was the grandson of Manu, son of King Uttanpad. And Priyavrat actually goes to the mountains to do tapasya actually for the Lord. So, but anyway, that's a different uh, story. That's a different line of thought. We'll not get into that today. But I was reading the purports, very interesting purports, and some of the things these purports that Prabhupada has written are very deep. And I was hearing this class by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu few days ago. There he mentions that even Prabhupada's answers that he would give, the question and answers that would happen when Prabhupada would be asked some question by someone, seemingly Prabhupada's answer may seem like very, very, simplistic, very simplistic, very lacking depth, or just throwing shastra on you as it is, something like that it might seem. But then if we really understand Prabhupada's answers, in many places his answers had a lot of depth. He may not have elaborated on those little points, but then they were very deep. And this is what CCP mentions in one of his classes. But anyway, I found such interesting purports in this section. So what we'll do today is we'll go through some interesting purports. We'll discuss them. If there are any discussion points anybody has, we can discuss them. And then we'll move to nice themes that I thought came out of these purports. So the first interesting purport is so this is what it says in the purport of the third verse. In the absolute world, there is no difference in quality between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotee. Therefore, hearing the topics of the Lord and hearing of the character and activities of pure devotee have the same result, namely the development of devotional service. And this principle is stressed enough in our of course we can never say enough, but this principle is quite often emphasized that the topics of the Lord and the topics of the devotees of the Lord, pure devotees of the Lord, they have the same effect. They transform our hearts. And the reason, one of so many reasons there, but one of the reasons mentioned is because the pure devotee, the life of a pure devotee, the heart of a pure devotee is in Krishna and is in the Lord. So that is why all their activities, all whatever they do, whatever they think, everything is is an example, is an inspiration for all of us. So that is why when we hear of pure devotees, that is the same as hearing from the Supreme Lord. In fact, in the purport, Prabhupada quotes so many places where it says the worship of the devotees of the Lord is greater than the worship of the Lord Himself. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam param. What is that? Tasmat parataram Devi tadiyanam samarchanam. Lord Shiva is telling his wife Devi that, Lord Vishnu, yeah, sure, worshipping him is great, but then greater than that is worshipping Tadiya, or those who are connected to the Lord, that is devotees. And so many other places, even Sakshat Dharitve na samasta shastrair. The spiritual master is to be considered as equal to the Lord. Why? Because the spiritual master is completely dedicated to fulfilling the mission of the Lord. That is why it's not an ontological oneness, but it's a spiritual oneness. In spirit, they are one because the Lord and the spiritual master, their purpose is the same. That is to bring the devotees closer to Krishna. So anyway, this is one interesting purport, a very much emphasized point, but definitely it's good to remind ourselves. So this is another interesting one. So this line of disciplic succession from Brahma is spiritual, whereas the genealogical succession from Manu is material. But both are on the progressive march towards the same goal of Krishna consciousness. So this line of disciplic succession, actually the previous sentence talks about the other sons of Brahma who are the Kumaras. So there, so Prabhupada actually is making a distinction there. So Brahma is the father of the Kumaras as well as Manu. And Brahma wanted the Kumaras also to, make population, to get married and to increase the population of the worlds. But the Kumaras, as we know, they did not want to do it. They thought they will get entangled, and that's why they left everything and they became sages. But Manu, he is actually, if we just read the verses, he is actually very obediently accepting whatever Brahma is telling him to do. Okay, dear father, you're telling me to increase progeny, I will do that. So in this way, so Prabhupada talks about these two in one sense dichotomies, but the purpose is the same. So the Kumaras left, they did not follow the instruction of Brahma for a spiritual purpose. And Manu is following the instructions of Brahma for a spiritual purpose as well. That is why Prabhupada says here both are on the progressive march towards the same goal of Krishna consciousness. And in the purports, Prabhupada also talks about the ideal relationship between a father and a son. And that was very interesting for me personally because I have a son. And but it so the Prabhupada writes that Brahma is such a qualified father, and Manu is being so obedient to Brahma, who is a qualified father. It's not that Brahma wanted Manu to get entangled by agreeing to create progeny. That was definitely not Brahma's intention. Brahma's intention was that he should do that as a seva, and also that seva for Krishna, for the Supreme Lord. And in that connection, also Prabhupada writes in one other purport that every human being should beget nice children in the womb of his wife as a sacrifice for the purpose of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service. So it's also something Prabhupada writes. So very interesting purports, and yeah, it's like we might think that our genealogical succession in which we are born it may be useless in terms of our spiritual progress, but then we can at the very least remember that that is the journey that brought us to Krishna. Whatever upbringing we had from our family, whatever good samskaras our family gave us, our upbringing gave us, our parents gave us, that actually formed the journey through which we came to Krishna eventually. So in that sense, both at some point, I guess, in our spiritual life, we need to aspire to stop seeing something as material and spiritual as separate, but seeing everything as spiritual. It's an elevated stage, but we can definitely aspire for it, and we can definitely try to do that as much as we can. So yeah, that is. And then one last purport is this about Varnashram. So in this connection of Kumaras leaving the instruction of Brahma and going and becoming renounced sages, and on the opposite end, Manu, he is actually going through the Varnashram system. He is accepting the instruction of his father. So here it says, Prabhupada writes in the purport, Varnashram Dharma is a systematic institution for advancing in worship of Vishnu. And then here he writes, however, if one directly engages in the process of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it may not be necessary to undergo the disciplinary system of Varnashram Dharma. So I remember, like, if I look back at my devotional, immature devotional fervor during the beginning years, if I would have read this same statement, I would have made the second part of the statement in bold rather than the first one, right? I would have bolded the part which says, however, if one directly engages in bhakti, then it may not be necessary. And even that it may not be necessary, I would have read it as it is not necessary to undergo the disciplinary system of Varnashram Dharma. That is, actually, I guess it was my immature fervor that I would have interpreted this that way. But anyway, systematic institution, right? When we approach anything in life, I guess if we approach it in a systematic way, then that is much better for us for organic growth. So in bhakti, bhakti itself, taking to devotional service itself is in one sense inorganic, because as Prabhupada said, we are waging a war against Maya. So we must have lived a particular life of a particular philosophy and whatever sense gratification and whatnot, and we come to bhakti suddenly, and then our thought process, our paradigm shifts completely, right? That itself is inorganic, and within that also, if we take very immature steps because of our immature fervor, then that is not systematic, and that which is something that is already in one sense disruptive, it becomes an inorganic thing, which may not be conducive for us. So Varnashram Dharma is a systematic institution. So gradually, organically, we can grow in our spiritual life and go closer to Krishna, like that. So anyway, any thoughts on these interesting purports? If not, we can move on to the themes for today. Yes, anyone? Anyone wants to ask any questions on this or share their thoughts or
I was wondering, in this whole creation process,
Mhm.
is this where, Prabhupada, I'm not sure, Prabhupada mentioned somewhere about um, like the when we go around, eight I don't know, 8,000,000 440,000 species of life, when we do reincarnation and all that.
Mm.
Um, Prabhupada talks somewhere about does the pool increase, or is it just the same amount, and just the ratio between the human and the non-human species occur, like how, I don't know where Prabhupada discusses that part. I forgot. Is it in this?
It was definitely not there in this chapter, but
Okay.
the typical answer I've heard is it's inconceivable. It's infinite. We can't just
Like Brahma creates Manu, of course. Manu creates the progenies, right? And he
yeah,
creates the two, like Priyavarta, Nuttanapada, and then from them,
yeah,
everybody comes, and then the rishis marry the daughters, and from them also the progeny comes, right? I mean, all,
yeah.
um, yeah.
The Saptarishis and everything. Yeah,
Saptarishis. That's when we have this gotras and stuff. Like from
correct.
everybody has the gotras from starting from those rishis.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, yeah.
So one thing that Prabhupada does mention in this is that the souls, like the spirit souls themselves, so Manu and all these Saptarishis and everything, they can be thought of as the medium for the souls to be born in the world, right? But the
Yeah.
origination of the souls in within the world actually happens by Krishna, by Vishnu.
Mm,
And Bhumi Devi or
mm,
uh, Maya is actually an energy of Krishna. So actually, Krishna is the one who impregnates
mm,
Bhumi Devi or Maya Devi, uh,
mm-hmm.
and then the souls are actually that way born. So, and that Prabhupada mentions in one of the purports here, and he quotes that famous verse in the Gita, Aham Bija Pradhapita. So he is
Right.
actually the seed-giving father. And these other Saptarishis and this Manu and everyone, they are the medium through which those spirit souls who have been impregnated, with by the Lord, they actually take birth and act out their karmic balance. So that is
But the
one way.
souls who want to, enjoy separately from the Lord,
Mhm.
um, desires first that they have to enjoy, and then they get facilitated through these sages, right?
Correct. And
That's the,
that's
yeah,
a valid way of looking at it. Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Enjoying separately,
But
well,
we don't know that for a fact, right? I mean,
exactly.
that's a million
Yeah.
japa question.
Yes, that is the question which
Yeah,
none of the Shastras answer, none
yeah,
of the
yeah.
Acharyas answer. Yeah, it's just inconceivable. How did we get the desire to be separate from the Lord?
Correct. Yeah, because once we are there, how did we even
Correct.
get that thought? Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it is not guaranteed that every soul will also go back, right? They may be eternally be stuck here also. That also I've heard that, but it has to be the soul's desires. We cannot say that, if atheist can be an atheist and they maybe just want to be here for eternity, right? They're all,
Yeah.
it could happen also. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody can eternally be uh, Bound.
bound. Yeah. Yeah, I was initial phase of Krishna consciousness, I was thinking that, everybody will eventually go back to Krishna.
Mm.
But that may not be so. Later on, I heard in many lectures that, uh, some people, if they don't have the enough sukriti, if either the sukriti or the intention or the desire or the any amount of contact with the spirit, priya devotee or the or prasadam or anything, they may be devoid of everything, right? Like they don't come in contact or they don't get affected by anything, and they all kind of remain.
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
all remain. And so there is one analogy that is given that a bulb, when it's manufactured, right, in the factory,
Hmm.
it's not really lit in the sense of, they may, I mean, in reality, they might test it and light it, but then in one sense, it's not like used for lighting up things. But the potency to be lit is there in the bulb.
Hmm.
Bulb is
Yes.
manufactured.
Yeah.
So it is something like that for the souls also. The potency to
Hmm.
become pure devotee of Krishna, to connect to Krishna and go back to Godhead is there
Hmm.
because our source is ultimately Krishna. But whether somebody does that or not is up to them. The
Yeah.
bulbs have free will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
And
But there was no thought process. I've just felt like, just mentioning that. Thank
I
you.
like such philosophical wranglings, uh, but not everyone appreciates it. So sometimes I have to contain myself and not get into those.
This is I love these kind of things. So yeah, but don't let me derail your flow. Thank you.
No, 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 not at all, Mataji. And one just last thing I'll add, like eventually, so there is no eventuality in one sense because everything is eternal. As souls, we are eternal. So when we say eventual, that means it's a point in time where eventually everybody will be in a particular
Oh
state.
yeah,
But
beautiful
yeah,
thought. Yes,
that
yes.
is never the case because the soul doesn't have a beginning, doesn't have an end,
Mm,
always existing.
yeah.
So there is no such eventuality in one sense.
Mm. So then there's Nitya Baddha and all that also. In that case also we cannot say that, when we cannot even say they're eternally bound also. No?
Yeah. So Nitya Baddha, eternally bound. Again, this is a big topic which many
Yeah,
people will
yeah.
discuss.
Maybe we can park it, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like just one quick thing there. Nitya here, Prabhupada translates as from time immemorial. Like we really can't trace back. That is why Nitya Baddha.
Hmm.
It's not possible to trace back. But that does not mean that.
Doesn't, yeah, it's not infinite. I mean, it's even infinity is like
Correct.
uncountable. That's all. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
it's unending. Hmm.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Now moving ahead with certain themes that might interest many of us and which bears practical relevance maybe for many of us is perplexity versus discouragement for a devotee. So this part comes in one of the verses where Lord Brahma is actually perplexed. He is confused as to what to do now, right? The earth is submerged in water and Manu is asking Lord Brahma what to do. I can't do this. I can't bring the earth back, and what do we do? And that time Brahma is actually confused, and that's where we saw nicely in the movie how he sneezes and that cute little Varahadev comes out of the nose of Lord Brahma. But anyway, the verse actually in the purport of the verse, Prabhupada writes something very nice, and this I want to also welcome. Discussion from others. So this is the purport that Prabhupada, the devotees of the Lord who are all confidential servitors are sometimes perplexed in the discharge of their respective duties, but they are never discouraged. They have full faith. Let me repeat this. Devotees of the Lord who are all confidential servitors are sometimes perplexed in the discharge of their respective duties, but they are never discouraged. They have full faith in the Lord, and He paves the way for the smooth progress of the devotee's duty, is what Prabhupada mentions here. So I was looking at this, Prabhupada is saying devotees are sometimes perplexed, but they are not discouraged. So I was looking at the meaning. So this, I just Googled, and this is the meaning of perplexity: the inability to deal with or understand something complicated or unaccountable, or an entangled state. This is the archaic meaning. And then discouragement means a loss of confidence or enthusiasm, dispiritedness. Now, a question for all of us. And of course, I mean, when I look at my own life, were there times when I was perplexed about what to do? So many times. And I'm pretty sure all of us would have experienced these kind of situations where we might be perplexed as to what to do, right? But then discouragement, whether that, so often what happens is when we are really perplexed about something, when we really don't know what to do, then that might actually end up discouraging us in the practice of bhakti also. I remember one person, one boy we were cultivating back in college. So he was a very nice. He took up very nicely. He moved into voice with us and everything. And then one day his grandparents, I think his grandfather passed away, and then his grandfather passed away, and then he had a lot of attachment to his grandfather. And I think his grandfather was the one who grandparents were the ones who brought him up or something. So he was very attached to them, and his grandfather passed away, and then he was so disturbed by that. He was so confused or so disappointed about it. Perplexity is one different emotion, but then you can in it, it's in the same zone, it's in the ballpark. So he was so disappointed by that, is that he said, Krishna, how could Krishna take my grandfather away from me? How could Krishna do that? And he left bhakti. He left, of course, one can never leave bhakti in one sense, but then he left the external forms of bhakti in the way we think what bhakti is. So he's still connected to devotees, I think. But that perplexity, that disappointment actually ended up in discouragement for him. So my question to all of you is, as practicing devotees, how can we not let perplexity result in discouragement? It happens also sometimes, sevas, we get into such complicated situations that, better not do this, better just stay away. It might end up in discouragement. So yeah, so that is the question. That's where I want to open up for everyone. As practicing devotees, how can we not let perplexity result in discouragement? And Prabhupada is writing here that devotees are never discouraged. So what is that ingredient that we need to have in ourselves to keep on going and not get discouraged despite the perplexities that life may throw at us?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Prabhuji, so I always think that in when we're going through perplexity, it's usually because we are in a very limited frame of mindset. We forget to see the grand picture, and then an external intervention such as someone in a mentor role or a guru can actually like give us a perspective and get us out
Mm,
eventually.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely approaching someone, that is one way to not let perplexity. So what is it that the superiors give us? Approaching superiors is fine, but then sometimes approaching superiors might aggravate our perplexity. It has happened. So, but anyway, what is that positive thing that the superiors give us, which could encourage us to carry on?
Yeah, for me personally, what they've given us is sharing their own life experiences and then seeing that they've gone past faster is encouraging. Also, they remind us of what Krishna's done to our lives earlier. Like, okay, you were in a very similar situation before, and look at how you got out of it. So they remind us. They show or they remind us of the proof that Krishna loves us through Shastras or through our own life experiences or through their own life experiences.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Mataji. They remind us. Yes. And what a question to all of you. What does that reminder give us? Like when someone reminds us that Krishna loves you, what does that give us?
Hope,
Sorry?
hope, and
Hope, yes. Close, close. Very close.
faith.
Faith, yeah. Yes. So it's faith, right? So perplexities could be there, but faith is that power that can keep us going. And the example of Prabhupada comes to mind here, that when he came to America, right, he wrote in Markine Bhagavad Dharma, I don't know why you have brought me here, dear Lord. Why you have brought me to this place of passion and ignorance, Prabhupada writes. Rajastamo gune rasabhaya chana. But then he is confused in one sense, he's perplexed in one sense, that he's in such a place, Ugra place, but then his faith is still unwavering. He still has that faith that, he writes again in that same poem that, you have brought me here, you may have some purpose. You surely have some purpose, and that therefore, whatever your purpose is, dear Lord, make me dance according to that, is what he prays, right? So he is in one sense confused. He doesn't know what is in store for him in the United States, but he is not discouraged from carrying out the mission of his Guru Maharaj, right? So that is one thing. But faith and what else, is there anything else? Yeah, anyone else wants to share? Yes, Mataji.
I guess when I look at these two, um, didn't Arjuna, experience both perplexity and discouragement
Yes.
in terms of he was perplexed, he was bewildered.
Yeah.
Um, looking at, his army uh, with all his relatives and family members, how
Yeah.
they'll all be killed at the end of the war, and then also discouraged, saying that, I'm not going to lift um, the bow. I'm not going to fight. I will not fight. It's a discouragement, right? I mean, like he's discouraged to fight. I mean, he self-discouraged himself. I mean, like he went through,
Correct.
um, and then, like Lekha was saying, a spiritual master is needed to come and give the necessary boost. So Krishna comes in. Of course, Arjuna surrenders Karpanya dosha, and then he says, "I'm confused. Please, tell me what for certain what is good for me. And you are my spiritual master, and I'm a soul surrendered unto you." So he's putting Krishna as his spiritual master and asking for certain. And then I guess, and then Krishna, goes through a series of things with him, like he talks about different types of yoga and takes him through the ladder. But then most importantly, um, he does give the faith, by telling about the soul's ultimate destination, and how they'll be killed, even though even if you don't kill them, they are already, you know they will be killed anyways. Um and I mean that eternality, about the soul ultimately coming to him from that particular context, and inculcating that faith in him, I guess, and also, I was going somewhere with it. Yeah, he kind of uh, dissipates that doubt from Arjuna, and then he infuses clarity. I think that is also a role of a spiritual master, to bring clarity in thought, um, and so that we can make decisions wisely. Ultimately, Krishna gives all the theory and gives it on the table and says, Arjuna, you do whatever you want to do. so that now the with all this knowledge, then comes the clarity, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
beautiful, Mataji. Yeah. So yeah, clarity and faith were the two things that I was also thinking about when I was preparing. Yeah, we through the knowledge that the spiritual master gives, we get clarity, and to continue your thought flow about Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's most, yeah, I guess he gives faith in different ways, but then the culmination of Krishna giving faith to Arjuna is Ma Shuchaha eventually, right? Just says surrender unto me, and I
yeah,
will take care of you. Do not worry, right?
yeah, yeah.
It is like the biggest, I guess, the culmination of the faith-giving process and the hope-giving process that Krishna is doing for Arjuna
Mm.
in Bhagavad Gita. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I was just thinking on uh, the terms of faith, like Shraddha, it starts with faith and then association of devotees, and then having a strong sadhana. And then when we face such perplexities in our lives, especially when we are uh, overcoming anartha nivritti. So again, it's like a circle from there. We again you know, need to nourish our faith, again associate more with devotees, strengthen our sadhana, like do sincere chanting, be more disciplined. So I see like it's more like a circle till we reach the committed stage of nishtha. Till then, I feel we will be getting in that loop of perplexity and like kind of in the process. So some of my thoughts.
Oh, beautiful, Prabhu. Beautiful. It's a loop, definitely. And we need to keep reinforcing it to ourselves. And I've heard this so we had done a course on Madhurya Kadambini. Um, I think, did Gaur Kumar Prabhu do it? He did one thing on Madhurya Kadam. I don't remember. Anyway, so Madhurya Kadambini is a very nice book. That's where this whole thing is mentioned. Adho Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya in great detail. And one of the things about, so it begins with Adho Shraddha. So that Shraddha is not very strong. It's not very developed initially. It's Adho Shraddha. And then now in that 9 steps, right? Uh, it's not that when we are at one particular step, the previous step, doesn't apply. Ritu, please, Amma. So it's like one might start with Adho Shraddha, and then when one reaches the stage of Adho Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, and then Sadhu Sangha, the faith gets further strengthened. In Bhajana Kriya, it's not that Sadhu Sangha ends. In Bhajana Kriya, Sadhu Sangha is also there. It becomes more mature, and Bhajana Kriya comes where we start practicing the principles of bhakti. And then in Anartha Nivritti again, it's not that the Shraddha is not there, I mean, or goes away. It's Shraddha is there, but it's more paripakva. It's more mature, it's stronger. And Bhajana Kriya is also there, Sadhu Sangha is also there, like that. So this is what I had heard. But again, there one might raise the question that if one after Anartha Nivritti there is Nishtha. Well, in one sense, you can say that Anartha Nivritti also continues up to the point of Prema, because there are very very subtle false ego related things that need to be cleared out. So in one sense, even anartha nivritti goes up to the stage of prema. So like that, every stage has the previous stage in it, in those 9 stages. In one sense, that is also one way to look at it, and that, as you said, we need to keep reinforcing ourselves. So yeah, anyway, let me just give me like 2 minutes, dear devotees. I'll settle Prithu and come back. Sorry about that. Anyway, I don't know how much of that you guys were able to hear, but Prithu was constantly saying something. Um, but anyway, to summarize, what I was saying is in the 9 stages of bhakti, every stage has elements of the previous stages as well. So the previous stages, they never in one sense get go away until we reach the stage of prema. Prema is where everything is all anartha nivritti, happens, and like it's complete, and our faith is the strongest, and sadhu sangha is the most nourishing and everything. Anyway, thank you for that, Prabhu. So moving on. So two ways to, unless anybody has any thoughts on this perplexity, discouragement, going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay. Two ways to understand Vairagya, right? So what is the usual way we understand Vairagya? So when somebody says, "Oh, वो बहुत वैरागी है," he's very, he's so he's practicing Vairagya. What is the first word that comes to mind? Anyone? The first word that comes to mind when we hear Vairagya.
Detachment.
Detached.
Detachment. Yes, thank you. So detachment is one, so that is the first thing that comes to mind. So detachment. So that is one way to understand Vairagya, and detachment is voluntary and it's consciously done, right? And this is Bhagavad Gita 6.35. This is that verse where, so previous to this verse, Arjuna is telling Krishna that, this mind is very obstinate, this mind is very strong and everything. And then Krishna is replying to Arjuna saying that, yes, the mind is very difficult to conquer, but it can be done through Vairagya and Abhyasa. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena ch grihyate. So here Krishna is talking about vairagya as a conscious decision, as a voluntary thing that we do as practicing devotees, right? And the other way to understand vairagya is actually freedom. And that is what Prabhupada mentions in the one of the purports of this section. So freedom here is it's spontaneous, it's something that is awarded. And this is mentioned in 1.2.7 Bhagavatam. वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योग प्रयोजितः जनयते आशु वैराग्यम ज्ञानम चयद अहेतुकम. So two things happen by bhakti. What are those two things? Bhakti yoga janayate ashu vairagyam, that is vairagya, and then jnanam, knowledge, transcendental knowledge. So these two things automatically come when we practice bhakti. Vasudeva bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojitah. And so both ways. So Prabhupada writes in his purport that qualification of bhakti or devotional service to the Lord is that the devotee should be free from all material contaminations and desires. This freedom is called vairagya, or renouncement of material desires. So I was quite fascinated by this statement of Prabhupada that this freedom is called vairagya. One who engages in devotional service to the Lord according to regulative principles is automatically freed from material desires. This is again something that I was thinking about. And in that pure state of mind, one can realize the personality of Godhead. Right? So that voluntary conscious detachment that we might exercise for the pleasure of Krishna, Prabhupada is saying, and that is what regulative principles are. In regulative principles, we try to regulate our lives, we try to follow certain principles, and we try to, anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varchanam. We do what is favorable, we try to stay away from what is unfavorable, right? And with that, Prabhupada is writing that it automatically frees us from material desires. So this is another question that I wanted to bring forth to all of you, and we can have a quick discussion on this. Does detachment always lead to freedom? So these are the two ways that we understood Vairagya, right? One is detachment and one is freedom. And in theory, it sounds correct that my conscious detachment for the pleasure of Krishna to practice bhakti will lead me ultimately to freedom. But does that always happen in practicality? Is there anything else that is needed? So does detachment always lead to freedom? Two elements of Vairagya. So anyone, any thoughts on this?
Prabhuji, I think if you're detaching and if you're not attaching at the right place, the detachment will lead to frustration. Like
Hmm.
because you're not there, you're not here, we are not like I'm not seeing progress on on the bhakti side because I'm not attaching to the right things. But I'm telling myself and everyone that, hey, I'm detached. So I'm not satisfied in either of the worlds. And that'll only be like frustrating for me. And it might actually, I might be going backwards in my progress.
True, true. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Detachment has to be coupled with attachment. And this also Maharaj says in many of his classes. Bhakti is about attachment. It's not really about detachment. Thank you. Thank you. So comment. It leads to freedom always, but temporarily. Um, can you elaborate on that, Prabhu? You mean the freedom is temporary?
Yeah, I think detachment definitely leads to freedom, but it is very short-lived if there is the attachment is the right attachment is not
Hmm.
done. That is how the like impersonalism and the voidism also works. Like detachment from world, but then again they have to come back.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, very true. Thank you. This is actually very interesting. It always leads to freedom, but that freedom might be temporary and short-lived. Thank you for that, Prabhu. Yeah. Unless that attachment is right. Yeah. Cool. I had a sensitive example that is coming to my mind, but it's okay. I'll just steer clear of that right now. Any other thoughts on this, dear devotees? Okay, we are at 9:58. Let's just finish the last one. And this actually was very interesting for me. And this sincerity of purpose, Prabhupada talks about in the shlokas that talk about the falashruti of this pastime, right? In the last few shlokas, it says, one who hears. So it specifically says one who hears this narration of Lord Varahadev, the Lord in their heart becomes pleased, is what it says. And there, Prabhupada suddenly brings in this topic of sincerity of purpose, which was very interesting for me. How, again, going back to that same point, how Prabhupada suddenly goes deep and his statements have deep purports. So, anyway, what he writes here is if one serves faithfully, there is no possibility of frustration because the Lord Himself takes charge of the devotee's advancement. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart and He knows the devotee's motive and arranges everything achievable. Maybe I should have bolded this. So let me repeat this. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart and He knows the devotee's motive and arranges everything achievable. In other words, the pseudo devotee who is anxious to achieve material gains cannot attain the highest perfectional stage because the Lord is in knowledge of his motive. So here, this is very important. One merely has to become sincere in his purpose, and then the Lord is there to help in every way. And I was thinking about this, and I felt like, wow, this is so deep. Prabhupada is writing. We often talk about motivation, right? And that Mataji also, Nitya Mataji shared that beautiful session on expectations also. So the motivation, we often talk about motivation, and Prabhupada is so beautifully writing here that the Lord knows our motivation. We can cheat the whole world, but we can't cheat the Lord in one sense, is what Prabhupada means here. And he's saying that one has to merely become sincere in his purpose, and then the Lord is there to help in every way. So the question that I wanted to ask you all, and maybe in the next minute or two, uh, you guys can share. So what is sincerity of purpose in practicing spiritual life? What does that mean to you, or what does that? Yeah, what is sincerity of purpose in practicing spiritual life? Is it that if I am seeking appreciation for what I'm doing, is that not sincere purpose? Or, is it that if, well, yeah, or if there is something that I let's say I need more sleep in as as a sadhaka, I need more sleep. I'm unable to wake up early in the morning. I'm just giving crude examples here. Early in the morning and chant. Does that mean I don't have a sincerity of purpose? So what is really sincerity of purpose in practicing spiritual life? Can anyone share on this? And Prabhupada is saying if one has to merely have sincerity of purpose, that's it. And then the Lord is there to help in every way. So again, superlative statements in one sense. But what does sincerity of purpose mean here? Anyone? Okay. Any thoughts? Okay. Anyway, we are anyway quite late right now. We can maybe ruminate on this question and
हाँ माता जी ने लिखा है प्रभु जी कुछ he
being
said
aware of whom we are and sincerely trying to connect with Krishna. Sure, yes, yes. Yeah, that is one sincerity of purpose. Yeah.
The quick thing I can think of is how selfless our intentions are.
Mm,
Shows also the sincerity. Not wanting to do, you know, our desires, but and since the word selfless is a little vague, maybe.
mm,
What I mean is ahetuki aprahitiyata, like unmotivated, right?
yeah.
Unadulterated. Yeah, it's a high bar.
Mm,
But sometimes we do slip into those, like on Janmashtami days, sometimes. It just come very momentarily that I want to do just this for you, Krishna, like that,
mm.
with that kind of sincerity. And
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, yeah. Selflessness, but still, like there also, like I know some speakers, some famous speakers who want to know the number of people who are going to attend their classes, and they will prioritize their visits according to that, right? So now, is there sincerity of purpose in their doing that? I think so, but then externally it might seem, अरे ये क्या numbers के पीछे पड़ा है, that kind of a thing.
mm,
So that is why this sincerity of purpose is a very deep topic. And again, I didn't
true.
uh, develop it that well in these slides here, but maybe what is sincerity of purpose in practicing spiritual life? There are a million things that can be said in this, right? But
Yeah.
then I should have had the question more specific and something more pointed. And but anyway, thank you for those inputs. Yeah, selflessness is one thing, but even in selflessness, right? If uh, like if I need like I need good sleep, right, to be able to serve. Am I being selfless or am I being selfish? Because I'm thinking about my need over here, right? I want 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I mean, so mm so here is one thing, right? Like I always, I mean, I go through sometimes. Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu is there. Maybe you can take his first, and then I'll go. Yes.
Yeah, that's just my quick thoughts as I hear your conversations. That I think sincerity and purpose, they are very much on the scale. Let's say if someone out of 100 is on a level 10, or someone is on level 15, they
Mhm.
will have different variation of sincerity, and in their own level the sincerity might be 100%, but in the broader sense it may not be compared with the someone who is at the higher level or at the lower level. And same with the purpose also. If someone is at a certain stage of life, they may have a full sincerity, but the purpose might not be as clear as, like exclusive devotion to Krishna. It might be just coming to get rid of material problems or get a job and all those things. and they may be fully sincere. And so the Krishna will keep on helping them slowly, slowly till they reach to that level. So that's just quick thoughts.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, like we see sincerity and purpose as not separate, but yeah, uh, as two different qualities and which are developed in a practicing devotee. Yeah. Thank you. Very valuable. Nitya Mataji, do you want to add as well?
Yeah, that going back to that sleep
Yeah.
thing. Again, the intention, if the intention is to not enjoy, enjoy the process of sleeping, but to ultimately do a better seva,
Yes.
only that devotee and Krishna knows the real
Yeah.
intention. I guess, we can never, from an outside person cannot judge, like you're saying, if a speaker is just outwardly looking for numbers, internally, he has, his intention could be that he has something valuable to give, and he wants to have a mass impact.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cannot be that is looking for adoration or appreciation from so many people, or posting in things saying that the particular speaker's session had 3,000 audiences. I don't, it all depends on that particular intention, why they're doing what they're doing. I
Yeah.
guess that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sincerity has intention also in baked in it. Yeah, I guess.
Correct. No, definitely true, Mataji. Definitely true. And there are, certain in our movement also, it's sad actually to know that, you know, when certain devotees try to do something, their sincerity of purpose was questioned and they were ousted. They were, you know, told to leave the movement and everything. So that what you mentioned about, the point about what is internally going on, only they know and Krishna know. It is very important because, and yeah, I totally agree that this sincerity of purpose, it is more for our self-reflection than to, make evaluations about devotees around us or people around us. Thank you for bringing that point up, actually.
And also, when we get into judgment, it's good to just know that who knows, like that's between them and Krishna. That is like giving them a benefit of doubt.
Correct.
Yeah, then that puts us into like a less offensive mode
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, dear devotees. So very valuable points. And yeah. So, but yeah, that's all I had. And thank you again for your inputs and the beautiful points that everyone shared. I hope this helped everyone. And yeah, that's all. We'll meet next week. So we have wonderful speakers lined up. Next week will be Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu. Then there will be Nadia Kishore Prabhu. And after that, I haven't scheduled anyone yet. So yeah, I'll reach out to some of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. I really appreciate how you made it to churn for everyone. So thank you. It was very engaging.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much. Actually, there was a lot of take-home points, lot of things to think about, and I think like for the past few lectures, we have been having this pattern where we are, having to reflect. Okay, who are we in bhakti? Bhakti outside of who we are in the temple or in a community. So I really appreciate the way you presented the class. The questions were very intriguing. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So I've come to realize that, too overtly philosophical classes also, there has to be philosophy and there has to be relevance. Both the things have to be there. Only relevance, or, if we just talk about relevance, how should I apply this and that? It's important, but then if it's only about me, how it is about, how I can get something out of it, then that extreme is also not that great. And
Yeah.
only philosophy, you're just talking about tattva, 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 quoting shloka after shloka. and that is also not great. So then,
Yeah.
not having both things is good. And that's how I try to see the discussions. I mean, prepare for discussions these days. But yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes,
man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Prabhu. Thank you. This is amazing. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you, dear devotees. We'll meet next Tuesday. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हन्तकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।